Hi, I'm Kat and I play Red. I felt quite sad recently when I did my video for New York Zoo. I love Uwe Rosenberg. He was probably the first Euro designer I was introduced to many years ago. And I realised that New York Zoo was actually the only video I'd done of any of his games. And I didn't really like it. Kind of sad. So, this week, we're going to have a look at one of the first Uwe Rosenbergs I ever played, I ever found, I ever heard about. Glass Road. Glass Road was released the year we went to Essen for the first time. I haven't got my glasses on. I think it was 2013. It was our first year at Essen. This had just come out. I was desperate to get a demo of it and I couldn't. But I bought it. So, let's have a look and see how it plays. So, in some ways, this is a fairly typical Uwe game. You're farming and developing the land, you're gathering resources. But there's a few differences. In this game, each player has a production wheel. These little discs represent all the different types of goods, and the number they're connected to shows you how many you have of each type. So we can see here I start with 0 brick, 0 coal, 1 ore and 2 food on this wheel. Then on my top wheel I'm starting with 0 glass, 0 sand, 1 food, 2 coal, 3 water and 4 wood. Over the course of the game, when you gain resources, you're going to move these tokens around the wheels, and that's actually going to affect other resources. So, for example, if I were to gain 2 coal, I would move this token forward 2, showing I have 2. Now, because there's a gap here, this wheel actually moves around. So in this case, my ore has now gone down to 0. That 2 coal I got has now become 1. But I've gained a brick. Whenever you get to a point like this where there's a space in front, you're always going to rotate this wheel. And as I've proven there, sometimes it's a really good thing, other times it can suck. So just make sure we've never got this gap showing. So let's pop that back. Now we have the landscape board. Each player starts with one of these and these set of tiles on it. It shows you on the board there what you need to place. And you're going to start with 3 buildings. I start with a forest glassworks that will give me 1 point per glass I have at the end of the game. A glassmaker's colony that will give me half a point for each sand I have. And a brotherhood of the masons, which will give me 1 point for each brick I have. Now, there are some buildings that can be upgraded, and these are 3 of them. So if we actually go to the buildings board straight away, you can see here this glassworks building has got brick rather than wood down the side, which shows you it's an upgrade building. So it says replaces forest glassworks. So if I were to buy this building, I'd pop it straight over the top of my forest glassworks, and instead of 1 point per glass, I'd get 3 points per glass at the end of the game. Now we're here, let's have a little look at the building board. Buildings come in 3 different types. The blue ones at the top here are production buildings. You're going to pay the cost shown here on the left-hand side and place that building into your personal area. So the production buildings, generally you're going to trade one type of resource for another type. So let's have a look at the inn. You're going to pay 1 coal to get 2 food. Now these actions you can do any number of times and at any point in the game. At the end of the game, the inn is going to give you 3 victory points. The next set of buildings with the kind of yellow, orange background, I don't know, are instant buildings. You'll pay the cost shown on the left-hand side, place it in your area and get the bonus shown immediately. So, in the case of this tile, you'll get 2 clay per adjacent pond. Or the grain house will give you 7 food on 1 production wheel. So they're a one-off instant bonus. And again, some of them have got points at the end of the game and some of them have none. Tough. The buildings at the bottom that are already orange are endgame scoring tiles. So the hunting lodge, for example, if you've still got at least 4 of these forest tiles, you're going to get 3 points. The village church will give you +1 for every empty space next to that building. That's a bit mean. We'll come on to why. A glassworks I showed you earlier will give you 3 points for every glass resource you have at the end of the game. As well as your landscape board and your production board, each player will also start with an identical deck of 15 cards. Now, each of these cards has obviously a different ability. It will show you, let's take the woodcutter for example, it will show you an action on the right and 2 abilities. So for the woodcutter, I can discard one of my forest areas off my board and gain 2 wood. Now, this is where the game gets interesting. At the start of each round, I will pick 5 cards to use. So let's have a look. I want the charcoal burner because I get stuff for wood. So let's go 1, 2, 3. Partly picking random cards. 4. Let's have a look. Let's do Feudal Lord because that's an interesting card. So, at the start of the first year, I will have 5 cards in my hand. As my first action, I'm choosing to play the woodcutter. However, Rob also has the woodcutter in his hand. Damn you. Which means I only get to do one of these 2 actions. So I'm going to chop down my forest and I'm going to gain 2 wood. So I move my wood marker 2 on my wheel. However, because Rob also had the woodcutter in his hand, he gets to use the ability as well. So he would discard one of his forest and take 2 wood. Let's have a look at another card that Rob doesn't have in his hand. So I'm going to play the charcoal burner. So here I'm going to pay 1 wood. And this time, because he doesn't have the card in hand, I get to do both actions. So I get 2 lots of 3 coal. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now that empty space has appeared, so I move the production wheel. So in gaining coal, I actually lost some other resources. And these wheels are a tricky balance that you really have to keep an eye on and keep on top of. Now, obviously, other players are going to get bonuses from me playing cards, but you're going to take it in turns to play cards. So if Rob had decided to play his builder, I have a builder in my hand. So I place it in one of the 2 available slots here. So I'm going to pay 1 food on my wheel and I get to build a building. It's the builder after all. So let's have a look. There's not a lot I can actually afford right now. I can, however, afford this clay lake. I think I've been calling it, or orange knobbly stuff. Orange knobbly stuff lake. That's what this is called now. So I'm going to pay 2 water on my wheel and I get 7 orange knobbly stuff. I'm going to pop that on my board. Where do I want it? I'm going to put it here for now and take 7. So I go from 0 to 7. No gaps, so the wheel stays where it is. Then let's have a look at my other cards. I am going to play the supplier. So take 2 of the same good of my choice and each other player receives 1 of that good. And then I get to build, providing Rob doesn't use the card. No, he's saying no. So I get to take 2 of something. So let's have a look at what I might want. I don't know. What do I want? What's good? I'm going to take 2 sand. So there's a gap here. So that wheel moves around, which gives me a glass. Then let's have a look at some of the buildings I could buy. So I'm going to have a look at, do I want this one? I don't know. Gosh, look at me turning into Rado here. I'm going to go for the inn, actually, because that's worth 3 points at the end of the game and it's got good stuff. So I'm going to pay 2 wood. So my wood goes back 2. I pay 1 glass and 1 brick and I put the inn on my board. Now I could at this point decide to say I'm going to pay 1 coal for 2 food. 1, 2, and that moves, moves it around. That's pretty decent actually, because it's given me 2 brick. So I've now played my 3 cards. My opponent has played their 3 cards, and it's the end of the round. So I'm going to take all my cards back, including any I placed here, any left in my hand, put them back in my deck because I get to choose from the full 15 cards again at the start of the round. And now this is where the building board fills up. So the more buildings you buy over the course of a round, the less choices you're going to have during that round. So here we go. Oh, this is another one that replaces, upgrades a building. If you see, it's got that brickwork. So it replaces the glassmaker's colony, but it doesn't give you any endgame points. Don't know if I like that. Take your card back, Rob. Back your card. And we go into the next round. So we're going to play 4 rounds. So in total on this game, you're going to get a minimum of 12 actions. However, if you kind of luck out with the cards your opponent has, you're going to have more actions. Obviously, in an ideal world, you want to have 5 actions each round. There's 5 cards you've picked that you want. And with more players, you might have that opportunity because you might have more doubling up. Other times it can be really frustrating when you only get 1 benefit of the card rather than 2. So if, for example, I wanted this fuel collector because I needed both coal and wood, if another player plays it, I only get one of those abilities. So that can be really rough sometimes. So let's just have a quick look at some of these other cards. Let's take 1, 2, 3. The Feudal Lord, because we didn't look at that last round. I've got one build action. Let's have a look. Let's go for the Carpenter. So these are my 5 cards for the next round. So my first action, I'm going to use this Pond Builder card. Now there's one of these for the 3 different types of landscapes. So we've got groves, ponds and pits. So the pond here lets me place a pond tile, which I'm going to pop there. I'm a woman with a plan, which I might let you all in on. Then I get either 1 sand or 1 water per pond tile. I'm going to go with the sand, and I have 1, 2, 3 pond tiles, so we move that to 4. The gap here is fine, there's nothing I can do about it. To get this wheel moving, I need my water and my food here to go up. It kind of sucks. So let's have a look at what else I've got. The Carpenter. So again, I'm going to get rid of a forest piece. I'm going to take a wood here, move my wood forward, and I get to build. See, this is where you get to see my evil plan. I'm going to play this building, which is going to cost me 2 sand. I'm going to pop it in the middle here, and I'm going to get 2 orange bobbly stuff for each adjacent pond, so 4. However, I can only take 2. I can't go past this arrow on the wheel. It's not like I jump there. So I gain 2 and that sits there, which is fine. So let's have a look at what my third action might want to be. I don't feel like I've got any sort of engine going. This is one of those games that feels like everything happens too quickly and you're left going, what did I do? Right, I'm going to play the Feudal Lord so that we can have a look at this, because this is a bit of an unusual card. Add 1 building from each stack to your private offer. So I get to take 1 tile from each stack, and these are going to sit by the side of my board and be available for me to build at any point in the game. So Feudal Lord, I didn't do the other action. I get 1 wood and 1 clay, which I can't move. So now these are here, and at any point I play a building action, I can choose one of these as well as the buildings on the building board. So I've just played 2 rounds, which is half the game. So you can see how quickly this can move once you've kind of got used to these cards. So say each player has the same 15 cards and they're all kind of similar. So the Pond Builder that you saw me use there, there's also the Forest Manager for the groves, and there's a Pit Builder. So we have those 3 cards that all do similar things. Beware though, because while you're putting all of these on your board, there's less room for buildings. So you can see now, I only have the 2 spaces left. So I can either use a slash and burn farmer or the woodcutter that you saw before to get rid of these forests. However, there are buildings in the game that will reward you for having these. if you look down here, we've got the hunting lodge, which gives you 3 points if you have 4 left, which is what I have right now. So that's kind of appealing, but then if I pop it down on my board here, I'm only going to have 1 space left. There are ways to get rid of these, but they're not very common. We've actually got the farmstead out here. So the farmstead means you can basically trash a pond to get some food and a water. But I think there's 1 tile for each type of landscaping. So you really need to keep a balance between plonking everything on your board that you want, because again, these workers give you better bonuses if you have more. So you need to watch that. Let's just have a quick look at some of the other cards. So the clay worker and the fuel collector both will cost you water and give you different resources. And then we've got the water carrier and the builder, which both cost you food. Builder does what it says. Water carrier gives you stuff. Fish farmer. See, again, it rewards you for having more ponds. But more ponds is less space for building. Charcoal burner. Oh, I've got some cards here, haven't I? Oops. The cultivator allows you to place one of these of your choice and build. The supplier, which gives you some resources of your choice, allows you to build. And then the feudal lord that I showed you earlier, where you get to put the tiles to the side. And then the carpenter, who I forgot about, who again is getting rid of this forest. So it's a tight balance between clearing your board and getting stuff on your board. And then these blue production buildings are great, but they're usually not very high points for the end game. So if you see here, the potash manufacturer gives you loads of stuff, but it's only 1 point at the end of the game. So do you want this, or do you want to look at some of these better ones that are going to give you 3 or 4 points at the end of the game? The eternal struggle. So let's just say we've played all 4 rounds and have a very quick look at scoring. So the Forest Glassworks will give me 1 point for each glass. I have 0 glass, so I'm going to get a whole 0. Glassmaker's Colony is ½ a point for each sand. I've got 2, so I get 1 point for that. That's exciting. Brotherhood of the Masons is 1 per brick, so 2. So I've got a whole total of 3. Then 3 for this, so that's 6, and 1 for this, so 7. So at the end of the game, I have a grand total of 7 points. This is definitely one of Uwe's lesser, I don't want to say it's lesser known, lesser talked about games. It's quite simple and quick when you know what you're doing. It even says in the rulebook, if you like a slightly longer game, play for 5 rounds rather than 4, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because it gives you more time to do stuff, but there's this constant balance of putting stuff on your board and trying to get rid of stuff on your board. These resource wheels are great. It's a really interesting concept. There's something similar in Aura et Labora, which I bought around the same sort of time, but we haven't played it for years, so don't shoot me if I'm completely off mark there. As far as I know, this was kind of supposed to be a range of games with the wheel system that never really happened, so make the most of them while you can. It's interesting because it means you can only ever have a certain amount of each different type of resources. The brick and the glass, which are the ones that will score you high at the end, you can only ever have a maximum of 3. The others, you can only ever have 7. So if you're one of those people that plays games and sits and has all of the resources, you can't do it. Sorry. So it's a really interesting concept. The gameplay is quite, I'm loath to say it's quite simple, but it is quite a simple game. But it's the planning that makes it a bit more thinky. In a previous game we played, Rob actually had the lodge out, so I knew he wasn't going to be trashing his forests, which was great for me because it meant every card I played where I was trashing forests, I knew I was going to get 2 actions. Whereas we've had other games where every single card I've played he's had in hand, and it's just like, oh. So I've only got 1 action for my main ones rather than 2, which starts getting really sad. So if you could not do that, please, Rob, next time, that'd be great. So yeah, there's a lot of strategy in picking your cards, knowing what your opponent's likely to play, because don't forget, you have 5 cards in your hand, but you're only going to play 3 of them. So you kind of want the other 2 to be cards you know your opponent's going to play. Easier said than done. So that is Glass Road. This copy is actually Z-Man and Fureland on the back of the box. I think the new edition is Fureland and Capstone, depending on where in the world you are. I think the Fureland is Germany, Capstone will be the US version. I know they do quite a lot of stuff together. I know Crystal Palace is both companies. I'm never sure how these things work. So keep an eye out for it. I don't know when it's coming. It is coming soon. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click like and subscribe. I usually try and put videos out every Thursday. Keep an eye out. Come and say hello on my other socials. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm currently doing a 365 by 1 this year, and all the pictures for that are going up on Instagram. So if you want to have a look at all the old games we pulled out the back of all our cupboards, go and have a look at that. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.